The champagne flutes caught the candlelight as I carried them to the dining room table. Christmas Eve, 2024. My lake house in Lake Oswego, just outside Portland, glowed with the kind of warmth you spend decades building. Through the windows, I could see lights reflecting off the water, peaceful and familiar. I'd spent the afternoon preparing dinner. Prime rib, roasted vegetables, the works. Jason and Brittany were due at 6. My son, 32 years old, and his wife of 4 years. I'd been looking forward to this. 3 years since Karen died, and the holidays still felt hollow without her. Having family around helped fill that space. The doorbell rang at 5:47, early, but I didn't mind. I wiped my hands on my apron and headed for the door, already smiling. But when I opened it, something felt off immediately. Brittany's smile was too bright, performance-level enthusiasm. Jason looked past me into the house with an expression I couldn't quite read. "Dad." He hugged me, but it was brief, distracted. "House smells amazing. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready." I took their coats. Brittany was already on her phone, typing something rapidly. "Everything okay?" "Oh, just posting a story. You know how it is." She gestured vaguely with her phone, still not looking at me. "Mind if I use your bathroom upstairs? That drive from Beaverton always kills me." "Of course. You know where it is." She disappeared up the stairs with unusual speed. Jason settled into the living room, but something was wrong. He kept glancing around, eyes cataloging details. The built-in bookshelves I'd installed myself. The view of the lake. The cathedral ceiling. Like he was appraising something. I returned to the kitchen, checking the prime rib. Through the doorway, I had a clear view down the hallway. That's when I saw it. The glow of Brittany's phone screen, reflected in the hallway mirror from the upstairs landing. She wasn't in the bathroom. She was on a video call, her voice carrying down the stairwell. "Mom, you're going to die when you see this place." Her voice had that giddy quality she got when showing off. "Yes, seriously. The master bedroom is huge. Your king-size bed would fit perfectly. And wait till you see the view." I froze, hands still on the oven door. 6 more months, tops," Brittany's voice continued. Casual, confident. "Jason's handling everything. We just need to be patient. Once we get her settled at Riverside, this whole house is ours. Well, ours and yours. You and Dad can have the master. We'll take the guest wing." My chest tightened. The oven timer beeped, but I couldn't move. "I know, right? The property taxes are insane, though. Like $5,000 a year. But once we're not paying rent, we can totally afford it. And get this. Riverside is only $2,800 a month. Way cheaper than what she'd waste staying here." I heard her mother's voice through the phone speaker, excited, making plans. Brittany laughed. "Jason's been so smart about this. He's playing the concerned son perfectly. Dad, you're slowing down. Dad, that's a lot of stairs. Dad, what about medical emergencies?" She's already halfway convinced she needs assisted living. By spring, she'll think it's her own idea. The reflection in the mirror showed Brittany panning her phone camera around the upstairs hallway, giving her mother a virtual tour of my house, their house, the one they'd already claimed in their minds. "Dale's going to build his workshop in the basement," Brittany continued, "and you can finally have your craft room. 3 bedrooms, Mom. After that crappy apartment, you guys deserve this. We all do." Margaret's had this place to herself for way too long anyway. I gripped the counter. 43 years I'd been a surgeon. 43 years of staying calm under pressure, of making critical decisions with steady hands. But standing in my kitchen, listening to my daughter-in-law carve up my life, while my son sat in my living room, enabling it, something cold settled into my chest. Not panic, not rage, something more surgical, clinical. I took the prime rib out of the oven with hands that didn't shake, set the timer for resting, removed my apron, slowly, deliberately. Brittany's voice drifted down again. "Honestly, the timing's perfect. Jason says she's been more forgetful lately, playing it up. Last week he moved her car keys, and she spent 20 minutes looking for them. Then he swooped in to help her find them. Hero son. It's brilliant. I hadn't been forgetful. I was 62, sharp as I'd ever been. But apparently, I was being actively gaslit to manufacture a narrative of decline. The toilet flushed upstairs. Footsteps. Brittany appeared at the top of the stairs, phone tucked away, smile back in place. Sorry. Got distracted, scrolling Instagram. You know how it is. No problem. My voice came out normal. Surgeon's training. Never let them see your hand shake, even when you're looking at something terminal. Dinner's ready. Jason appeared from the living room. Need help carrying anything? I've got it. I brought the platter to the table. We sat. I carved the meat with the same precision I'd used for 40 years in operating rooms. Clean cuts. No wasted motion. While I worked, I watched them. Brittany touched my arm repeatedly during dinner. Margaret, you've really outdone yourself. This is incredible. Jason nodded. Dad, seriously, this is restaurant quality. Thank you. I passed the vegetables. Let them perform their concern and gratitude. Let them think I was oblivious. So, Dad. Jason set his fork down with theatrical care. Brittany and I have been talking. We're worried about you here alone. It's a big house, lots of maintenance. And those stairs, I took a bite of prime rib, chewed slowly. The stairs? Well, you're not getting younger. What if you fell? What if there was a medical emergency? You're 40 minutes from Good Samaritan. I'm 62, Jason, not 90. I run 3 miles 4 times a week. I know. He raised his hands. I'm not saying you're incapable now, but we should plan ahead, right? Be smart about it? Brittany leaned in. There are amazing communities now, Margaret. Active senior living. You'd have people around, activities, medical staff on site. No more worrying about yard work or house repairs or property taxes. I don't worry about those things. But you could simplify. Jason's voice had that patronizing tone he used when he thought he was being reasonable. Wouldn't it be nice to not have those concerns? To just enjoy your retirement? I'd retired from surgery 6 months ago after a 43-year career. Saved countless lives, trained dozens of residents, built a reputation that meant something. And now my son was talking to me like I was a confused child who needed help making good decisions. I'll think about it, I said. Neutral, non-committal, exactly what they wanted to hear. They exchanged a look, quick, satisfied. Jason smiled. That's all we ask, Dad. Just keep an open mind. The rest of dinner passed with forced cheer and hollow conversation. They left at 9, hugging me goodbye with theatrical warmth. I stood in the doorway watching their taillights disappear down the tree-lined street, then closed the door and locked it. The house felt different now, contaminated. I walked through each room, seeing it through their eyes. The living room where Karen and I had watched movies for 30 years. The master bedroom where she'd died peacefully in her sleep 3 years ago. The study where I'd reviewed case files and surgical journals late into the night. All of it already parceled out in their minds. Already divided and claimed. I sat at the kitchen table surrounded by dirty dishes and half-empty wine glasses. The Christmas tree I'd put up that morning suddenly looked absurd. Festive lights for a family that was planning to dispose of me. I didn't sleep that night. Spent it at my desk instead, legal pad in front of me, writing. Not from emotion, but from the same methodical mindset I'd used for pre-surgical planning. Assess the situation, identify the problem, determine the solution, execute with precision. By dawn, I had the outline of a plan. The first call Jason made was 3 days later, December 27th. I was in my study when my phone rang. Hey, Dad, how you feeling? Brittany and I were just talking about Christmas. You seemed a little tired. I hadn't been tired, but I knew what he was doing, establishing a pattern, building a narrative. Just the normal holiday exhaustion, Jason. Nothing serious. Right. Hey, speaking of health stuff, when was your last checkup? 2 months ago. Clean bill of health. That's great. But at your age, maybe more frequent checkups would be good, preventive care and all that. I'm a doctor, Jason. I think I know when I need medical attention. Of course. I just worry, that's all. You're all I have left. The manipulation was textbook, concern masking control. I'd seen it in families before, Adult children circling aging parents like vultures, just waiting for signs of vulnerability. I appreciate that, I said. Let him think it was working. New Year's Eve, they invited me to dinner at their apartment in Beaverton. I accepted. Made sure to arrive exactly on time, carrying a bottle of wine that cost more than they'd spent on furniture. Their place was small, 900 square feet maybe, cramped. I understood the appeal of my lake house now, even more clearly. This wasn't just about free housing. This was about upgrading to a lifestyle they couldn't afford on their own. Jason worked in finance, investment analyst, made decent money, around $90,000 a year. Brittany claimed to be a lifestyle influencer. Instagram, mostly. Posted photos of overpriced coffee and sunset views. Her earnings were sporadic, maybe $3,500 a month in good months. Combined, they were comfortable, but not wealthy. My lake house, worth close to $1 million, represented generational wealth they wanted without the generational work. During dinner, I performed. Gripped the counter when I stood. Paused mid-sentence, like I'd forgotten what I was saying. Let my hand shake slightly when I reached for my water glass. Brittany's eyes lit up every time. She jumped to help, touching my arm, guiding me back to my chair. Margaret, you okay? You seem a little unsteady. Just stood up too fast. Jason watched with barely concealed satisfaction. After dinner, he brought out a brochure. Glossy paper, smiling seniors doing yoga and playing cards. Dad, I know we mentioned this before, but I really think you should just look at this. No pressure, just information. Riverside Senior Living Community. Portland's premier active senior residence. I opened it slowly, studying the photos. Clean facilities, scheduled activities, medical staff on site. Prices started at $2,800 monthly for a studio apartment. They have openings, Brittany said. We could schedule a tour, just to see it. You might be surprised. Maybe, I said. Let me think about it. That night, driving home along the darkened highway, I thought about Karen, what she would say if she knew our son was planning this. She'd always been harder on Jason than I was. Saw through his entitlement earlier. You're too soft with him, she'd said once. He needs to learn that the world doesn't owe him anything. She'd been right. I spent the first week of January researching Oregon property law. Not at home, where Jason might notice books or browser history during one of his increasingly frequent check-in visits. Instead, I went to the Multnomah County Library downtown, found a quiet corner table and spent 8 hours a day reading statutes and case law. The discovery was simple. As sole owner, I had complete authority. No adult children claims. No requirement to inform anyone before selling. The house was mine, purchased in 1987, mortgage paid off in 2003. Title clear. I could sell it tomorrow if I wanted. I learned about quick sales, cash buyers, market conditions in Lake Oswego showing median prices at $950,000 for comparable waterfront properties. 3-bedroom homes with lake access moved fast in this market, sometimes within 2 weeks. On January 10th, I made an appointment with an attorney, Linda Zhao, found through the Oregon State Bar Directory. No personal connections. No one who knew my family. Her office was in downtown Portland, modern building, 14th floor. Mrs. Chen, she shook my hand. Late 40s, sharp eyes. You mentioned property questions on the phone. I laid it out clinically. My house, my son's plan, what I wanted to do. She listened without interruption, took notes. When I finished, she leaned back. You have complete legal authority here. As sole owner, you can sell without informing anyone. Your son has no claim unless his name is on the title. It's not. Then you're fully protected. He can be unhappy about it, but unhappy isn't a legal standing. How quickly could a sale happen? With the right buyer? 3 to 4 weeks. Faster with cash buyers who waive inspection. And if someone's living in the house when I sell, her expression didn't change. If they're not on the lease or deed, they're occupants without legal rights. The new owner can serve them 30-day notice to vacate. Much cleaner if you sell before anyone moves in. I asked 6 more questions. She answered each one precisely, occasionally referencing statute numbers I wrote down in my notebook. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was surgical planning. January 15th, I contacted a realtor, Robert Kim, highly rated, specialized in luxury properties in Lake Oswego. We met at a coffee shop, not at my house. Mrs. Chen, I've sold 4 properties on your street in the last 18 months. The market is incredibly strong. With your lake frontage and the condition you've described, I'd estimate 950,000, possibly higher. How discreet can this be? He didn't blink. We can do what's called a pocket listing. Market it to my network of buyers without public posting. Your family won't see it on Zillow or Redfin. Perfect. January 20th, I began removing items from the house. Medical journals worth money to collectors. Karen's jewelry. My father's watch collection. The Chihuly glass sculpture we'd bought in Seattle 20 years ago. Each trip, I filled my car, drove to a climate-controlled storage unit in Beaverton, unloaded, piece by piece. I stripped the house of everything irreplaceable. Jason called constantly now. Dad, you've seemed really out of it lately. Are you eating enough? Taking your medications? I wasn't on any medications. My blood pressure was 120/70. Cholesterol, excellent. But I let him build his narrative. Sometimes I forget to eat lunch, I admitted. Too focused on other things. See? That's what worries us. Maybe we should set up a system. Meal delivery or something? I'll manage. February brought more aggressive pushing. Jason and Brittany visited twice a week now. Each time, Brittany found excuses to wander upstairs, take photos for memories, measure doorways in case you ever need accessibility modifications. On February 14th, Valentine's Day, they brought me flowers and another brochure. This time, they'd highlighted specific features. The emergency call system in every unit, the medication management program, the memory care wing for residents with cognitive decline. I wasn't experiencing cognitive decline, but they needed me to believe I was. Dad, we really think you should tour Riverside. What's the harm in looking? I let reluctance show. I suppose it couldn't hurt to see it. Brittany's face transformed. Genuine joy. She pulled out her phone immediately. I'll call right now and schedule. They have availability next week. Tuesday? Tuesday works. After they left, I sat in the living room that was no longer mine in their minds. Thought about the Hippocratic oath I'd taken 43 years ago. First, do no harm. I'd spent my career healing people. Now I was planning to destroy my son's dream. But he'd already destroyed mine. He just didn't know it yet. The tour of Riverside Senior Living happened on February 20th. Jason drove, Brittany in the passenger seat, me in the back like cargo being transported. The facility sprawled across 3 acres in outer Portland. Single-story buildings arranged around a central courtyard. Institutional architecture disguised with landscaping. A woman named Patricia met us at the entrance. 60-something, professional smile. Welcome to Riverside. Let me show you what makes us special. We walked through hallways that smelled like disinfectant and overcooked vegetables. She showed us a studio apartment, 270 square feet. Bathroom with grab bars everywhere. Kitchenette that was really just a microwave and mini fridge. Window overlooked the parking lot. Everything's included in your monthly fee, Patricia chirped. 3 meals daily in our dining hall, activities, housekeeping, medication management. You'd have complete peace of mind. I asked appropriate questions. Meal schedules, activity calendars, what happens in medical emergencies. Jason and Brittany stood behind me, watching, evaluating, trying to gauge my reaction. In the common area, residents sat in rows of chairs facing a television playing Wheel of Fortune at aggressive volume. An elderly woman with clouded eyes caught my arm when Patricia turned away. Don't come here unless you have no choice, she whispered. Her grip was surprisingly strong. They control everything. When you eat, when you sleep, when family can visit, you lose yourself. I nodded slightly, kept my expression neutral. Patricia returned, guided us toward the dining hall, where lunch service was underway. Residents eating at assigned times, at assigned tables, meals portioned identically on beige plastic trays. In the car afterward, I spoke carefully. It's adequate. Brittany twisted in her seat. Really, Dad? You'd consider it? I said I'd think about it, but that was enough for them. Jason gripped the steering wheel tighter, barely containing his excitement. When he dropped me off, I watched from my window as they celebrated in my driveway. Brittany jumped up and down. Jason pumped his fist. Both of them already spending money they didn't have, living in a house that would never be theirs. February 27th. Robert Kim called. I have buyers. Young couple. Both work in tech. They saw the photos. Loved the location. All cash offer. $925,000. Can we close quickly? They're waiving inspection. No contingencies. We could close by March 28th. I signed the offer that afternoon. Purchase price, closing date, everything specified. The contract sat in my home safe, hidden behind a false panel I'd installed myself 20 years ago. Jason had no idea it existed. March brought spring rain and increased desperation from Jason and Brittany. They called daily now, visited 3 times a week. Each visit, they pushed harder. Dad, we really think Riverside is the answer. You seem to like it. It was fine. So let's move forward. They have an opening in May. We could get you settled by summer. I hesitated. Let them see me weighing it. That's very fast. But that's good. No drawn-out waiting. You could start fresh. New friends. New activities. Think of it as an adventure. Brittany jumped in. And Jason and I could help with the transition. Maybe even stay at the house for a while to handle the details. Cleaning it out, organizing things, dealing with movers. You wouldn't have to stress about any of it. There it was, the real plan, out in the open now. Not just moving me to Riverside, taking occupancy of the house immediately. That's very generous, I said. Meant it to sound grateful. Let me sleep on it. That night, my neighbor called. Emma, early 40s, yoga instructor. We'd known each other for 8 years. Margaret, something strange happened yesterday. I saw a couple at your house. They had keys. They were measuring your master bedroom with a tape measure. My pulse accelerated. What did they look like? Older couple. 65 maybe. The woman had short gray hair. The man wore a Seahawks jacket. They were there for about 2 hours. I almost called you, but I thought maybe you'd hired them for renovations or something. Karen and Dale, Brittany's parents. In my house, measuring rooms for their furniture. While I was out running errands. Did they say anything to you? The woman saw me in my driveway, waved, said something about how excited they were to finally have a place near their daughter. I thanked Emma, hung up, sat in my study as rage and clarity battled for dominance. Clarity won. In surgery, you don't cut angry, you cut precise. I checked my desk drawer. The spare house key I'd given Jason last spring for emergencies was still there, which meant he'd made a copy before returning it, had given that copy to Brittany's parents. They were already treating this as their house, already moving in mentally while I was still breathing. March 15th, I called Jason. Let my voice carry the weariness I'd been performing for months. I've made a decision about Riverside. I want to move forward. Silence for 3 heartbeats. Then his voice, carefully controlled. Dad, are you sure? This is a big decision. I'm sure. You were right. The house is too much. Time to simplify. Oh, Dad. He sounded like he might cry. From relief or guilt or greed, impossible to tell. This is really good. You're making the right choice. For your health, your safety, everything. Can we meet tomorrow? Discuss logistics? Absolutely. Lunch? We'll bring Brittany. The restaurant was a chain place in Tigard, neutral territory. Jason and Brittany arrived early. Already had a booth when I got there. A folder sat on the table between them. 2 prepared for spontaneous discussion. We ordered, made small talk about weather and traffic. Then Jason opened the folder with practiced precision. Dad, we want to help make this transition as smooth as possible. While you're getting settled at Riverside, Brittany and I thought we could stay at the house, maintain it, handle any repairs. We put together this simple agreement. He slid the document across the table. Temporary residence and maintenance agreement in formal fonts. Language about care, responsibilities, utilities, duration, until permanent arrangements finalized. I read slowly. It was legally meaningless. No actual transfer of ownership, just occupancy rights, while I allegedly transitioned to assisted living. But they didn't know it was meaningless. They thought this gave them legitimate claim. What about long-term? I asked. What happens to the house eventually? Brittany leaned forward. We can figure that out later, Margaret. One step at a time. Right now, let's just focus on getting you comfortable at Riverside. I read the agreement again, pulled out my pen, let my hand shake slightly as I signed, handed it back to Jason. Thank you, I said quietly. I was so worried about leaving it empty. You're both very thoughtful. Jason couldn't quite hide his satisfaction. Brittany squeezed my hand across the table, both of them warm and convincing in their performance of filial care. Across town, in a cramped two-bedroom apartment in Beaverton that cost $2,300 monthly, Karen and Dale were making very different plans. Karen sat at their kitchen table with a legal pad, making lists. First thing, we replaced that ugly carpet in the living room, she told Dale. There's hardwood underneath. Just needs refinishing. Dale nodded. And I'll finally have space for my workshop. That basement is huge. I can get my table saw out of storage. Karen was on the phone with a friend, voice bright with vindication. Yes, finally. After all these years, we're getting a real house. Right on the lake. Brittany came through. We're moving in May. They were shopping for furniture, planning renovations, calculating home equity lines they'd never be able to draw against, building a future in a house they'd occupy for exactly 9 days. March 28th. The closing happened at a title company in downtown Portland. I sat at the conference table signing documents while the escrow officer slid papers across the polished surface. Sale agreement, deed transfer, closing disclosure, my signature in the same precise handwriting I'd used for surgical notes for 4 decades. Across the table, the buyers reviewed their copies. David and Sarah Patel, mid-30s, both worked for Intel. They'd waived inspection, paid all cash, closed in exactly 30 days, $925,000. Congratulations, I said to them. You're going to love that house. Sarah held the keys like they were precious. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Mrs. Chen. We can't wait to start our family there. Linda Zhao sat beside me. After the final signature, she handed me a sealed envelope. Eviction notice. Ready to send certified mail whenever you want. I nodded, stood, shook hands with the Patels, the escrow officer, Linda. My phone buzzed. Wire transfer confirmation. $925,000 deposited into my account. I drove to my storage unit. Retrieved 2 suitcases I'd packed and stored last week. Drove to the Pearl District in downtown Portland, to the furnished 1-bedroom condo I'd rented under a 6-month lease, 1,200 square feet, 9th floor. Views toward the Willamette River. This was headquarters. Temporary but sufficient. I unpacked. Set up my command center on the kitchen counter. Legal documents. Linda's business card. Calendar with April first circled in red marker. 5 days until Jason and Brittany moved in. 9 days until the eviction notice arrived. April 1st arrived with pale spring sunshine. Jason called at 8 in the morning. Dad, we're heading over today. Start moving some things in. Get the place ready for when you transition to Riverside next week. Of course. I'm actually heading to Riverside today. Pre-move orientation. They'll probably keep me busy most of the day. Perfect. We'll have some time to get organized then. I wasn't going to Riverside. I went to Powell's Books. Spent 6 hours browsing medical texts and drinking coffee. Around 3 p.m., Emma texted me a photo. Jason's car in my driveway, a U-Haul truck behind it. Brittany, carrying boxes. 2 older people I recognized from Facebook photos, Karen and Dale. They were moving in, all 4 of them, claiming the house they thought would be theirs by summer. April 2nd, Jason called. Dad, we got the basics set up. The house looks great. You sure you don't want to stop by before you move to Riverside? I'm sure. It's easier this way. Clean break. Okay. Well, if you need anything, we're here. Thank you, Jason. April 8th, the certified mail was delivered. I knew because Linda called me. Notice served. Someone signed for it at 10:43 a.m. Thank you, Linda. I waited. 15 minutes later, my phone started ringing. Jason's name on the screen. I let it ring. Voicemail. He called again immediately. Again. 10 times in 5 minutes. Each call going unanswered. My phone buzzed with texts. Jason. Dad, call me now. Urgent. Jason. What the hell is this eviction notice? Jason. You sold the house? When? Jason. Call me. I put the phone on silent. Made coffee. Sat at my kitchen counter watching the Willamette River flow past below. The plan had worked exactly as designed. Every phase, every timeline, perfect execution. 4 hours later, Jason showed up at Riverside. I knew because the facility called me. Mrs. Chen, we have a man here claiming to be your son. He's quite upset. Says there's been some kind of mistake. I've never been a resident there, I said. I don't know what he's talking about. Should we call security? That's up to you. Jason tried my old cell phone, the one I'd told the family to use. Let that one ring too. 63 calls that first day. By day 3, it was up to 84. Jason's lawyer called Linda. She told me about the conversation later. He demanded to know how you could sell the house out from under them. I explained you had every legal right as sole owner. He said they had an agreement. I asked him to send it over. And? It's worthless. Temporary occupancy agreement with no ownership transfer. No consideration. No legal weight whatsoever. I told him he has 30 days to vacate or face sheriff-enforced eviction. He hung up on me. April 10th, Brittany created a private Instagram story. I didn't see it myself, but Emma's daughter did and told her mother, who told me. Brittany crying on camera. We've been betrayed by family. We gave up everything to help someone who lied to us. Please send prayers. The comments filled with sympathy from people who didn't know the full story. How horrible. Family should stick together. Praying for you. April 15th, Jason's lawyer filed a motion to stay the eviction. Linda called me laughing. Judge reviewed it this morning. Dismissed it immediately. Said it was clearly without merit. Your son just paid his lawyer $1,500 to learn what I told him for free. They had 16 days left. Emma reported moving trucks. Jason and Brittany hauling boxes. Faces tight with stress. Karen crying on the porch. Dale looking 20 years older, loading furniture into a truck. They'd found an apartment. Finally, after desperate searching. $2,900 monthly in Gresham. Worse neighborhood than their old place in Beaverton. 800 square feet for 4 people. Security deposit. First month, last month. $8,700 up front. Karen's retirement savings, which she'd been protecting carefully for 10 years, disappeared in one afternoon. Dale got a job. First time working in 15 years. Home Depot in Clackamas. 68 years old, wearing an orange apron, lifting boxes of tiles, and helping customers find light fixtures. $16.50 per hour. Part-time schedule. 24 hours weekly. After 40 years teaching high school English, explaining Shakespeare to disinterested teenagers, he was directing people to aisle 7. The store manager was 26. Called him sir like he was ancient history. Brittany's Instagram following collapsed. Someone had connected the dots. Posted on a Portland Reddit thread about entitled influencers. This woman tried to scam her mother-in-law's house. Screenshots of her stories. Photos she'd posted from my living room, calling it our new lake house. The comments came fast and brutal. Scammer, gold digger, elder abuse. Her sponsorships disappeared. Athletic wear company, skincare brand, coffee subscription service, all dropped her within 48 hours. She got a job at Sephora, $18 an hour, 32 hours weekly, standing at registers, helping 19-year-olds find foundation shades. After years of posting sunset photos and calling it work, she was scanning barcodes and dealing with returns. Jason's car got repossessed. Lexus sedan, $34,000 still owed. He'd missed 3 payments during the chaos of moving, eviction, and financial scrambling. The repo company came at dawn, towed it from the Gresham apartment complex parking lot. Now he took the bus to work. April 30th, eviction day, I drove past the lake house. Couldn't help myself. Wanted to see it one final time before the Patels moved in. Jason's U-Haul was in the driveway, mostly loaded. He stood on the porch, face hollow, loading the last boxes. Brittany sat on the steps, staring at nothing. Karen and Dale were already gone. Moved to Arizona where Brittany's sister lived. Cheaper cost of living. Dale would continue working at Home Depot there. Karen's dreams of a craft room overlooking a lake, replaced by a guest bedroom in her other daughter's tract home in Scottsdale. I drove on, didn't stop, nothing left to say. May 5th, Jason filed for separation. I learned this from Emma, who heard from another neighbor. Marriage counseling had failed. Too much stress, too much blame. Brittany moved back to her parents' place in Arizona. Jason moved in with a college friend in Hillsboro. Their shared apartment in Gresham, the one they'd scrambled to afford, sat empty after 1 month. $8,700 in deposits and rent, gone. May 20th, I received an email. Jason's address. Subject line, please read. Mom, I know you probably won't respond. Maybe you won't even read this, but I have to try. Brittany and I are done. My marriage is over. I lost my car. I'm living on a friend's couch. My credit is destroyed. Her parents had to move to Arizona. They're both working retail in their 60s just to survive. Could you help? Even just part of the house money. I'm still your son. That has to mean something. Please, Mom. I have nothing left. Jason. I read it twice. My finger hovered over the reply button. For just a moment, I thought about responding. He was my son. I'd held him as a baby, taught him to ride a bike, paid for his college, watched him graduate, believed he'd grow into someone decent. But then I thought about Christmas Eve. Brittany's voice. $2,800 a month, way cheaper than what she'd waste staying here. I thought about Karen and Dale measuring my bedroom for their furniture. I thought about that resident at Riverside whispering, "They control when you eat, when you sleep, when family can visit." I thought about Jason moving my car keys to manufacture evidence of my decline. They hadn't wanted a mother. They'd wanted real estate and a discount senior warehouse. I deleted the email, checked my phone, 127 missed calls on the old number. I powered it off, placed it in my desk drawer, closed it. My new condo in Pearl District had everything I needed. 1,200 square feet felt spacious, not cramped. The building had a gym, walking distance to Powell's, to restaurants, to the Saturday market. I joined a book club, started volunteering at the Outside In Clinic, providing free medical consultations for houseless young adults twice weekly. June 3rd, I had coffee with someone, Thomas, 58, architect, widowed 4 years ago. We'd met at the book club. He was kind, funny, didn't want anything from me, except good conversation. We talked about books in Portland and what it meant to rebuild a life after loss. I didn't mention Jason, didn't need to. That chapter was finished. July 2nd, I sat on my balcony as sunset painted the sky orange and pink. The Willamette River reflected the light like hammered copper. Sailboats drifted toward the marina. The city spread out below, alive and humming. I'd spent 43 years as a surgeon, learned to cut with precision, to remove what was diseased, to save what could be saved and let go of what couldn't. Jason had been a tumor, aggressive, invasive, threatening everything healthy around it. Removal was the only option. Clean margins, no regrets. My phone sat on the side table. Old missed calls cleared. New life beginning. I'd protected my dignity, secured my future, refused to be a victim. They'd wanted to erase me. Instead, they'd erase themselves. I finished my wine, went inside. Tomorrow I had clinic in the morning, coffee with Thomas in the afternoon. Next week, the book club was reading Beloved. Life was full again. Different than before, but full. The past was finished. The future was mine. And that was enough.